They laughed at her English. The sound of their laughter echoed in her mind, lingering long after the moment had passed. The laughter followed Maria from the dusty schoolyards of her childhood to the polished hallways of Manila's universities. No matter how far she traveled, it seemed to chase her, a shadow she could never quite outrun. Her accent was thick, a melody of her native tongue clinging to every English word. Each syllable carried the music of home, a gentle reminder of where she came from. To others, it was the sound of being less. It was a mark, a label, a reason to be set apart. It marked her as someone who didn't quite belong. In crowded rooms, she felt invisible, her words weighed down by invisible chains. "Please repeat," they'd say, not with curiosity but with a smirk. The request was never about understanding, but about highlighting her difference. This was the world Maria de la Cruz grew up in, a world where the American accent was the gold standard. Every classroom, every television, every lesson seemed to reinforce that message. Her English was functional, honest, but coded in the accent of her people. It was a voice shaped by family, by community, by history. In the circles she aspired to join, it was a liability. Her dreams felt just out of reach, tangled in the way she spoke. People judged the package, not the contents. They saw the surface, never pausing to look deeper. They heard her accent before her ideas. Her words were filtered through their expectations, her meaning lost in translation. The mockery was sometimes loud, sometimes a raised eyebrow or a condescending tone. Even silence could sting, a quiet dismissal that lingered. Maria learned to brace herself, rehearsing her sentences, trying to sound less like herself. She practiced until her voice felt foreign, chasing an accent that was never truly hers. She bought books on elocution, mimicked news anchors, but her mother tongue was stubborn. The sounds of home clung to her, refusing to be erased, so she carried it with her, her burden and her armor. It was a weight, but also a shield, a reminder of who she was. For every person who dismissed her, a defiant part of her held on tighter to her roots. She drew strength from her family, from her heritage, from the stories that shaped her. They could laugh at her intonation, but they couldn't take away her thoughts or her fire. Her voice, though different, was powerful, full of conviction and hope. They thought her accent was a weakness. They saw only the surface, never the strength beneath. They had no idea it was the source of her strength. In every word she spoke, her story lived on, unapologetic, unbroken, and uniquely her own. Maria de la Cruz was born in a small Visayan barrio, where life followed the rhythm of harvest and tides. Her home was a simple nipa hut, her playground the riverbank. English was a subject in school, taught with the same accent she'd later be mocked for. Her parents, farmers with calloused hands, saw education as her only inheritance. They saved every peso for her books and uniform, dreaming of a life easier than theirs. Maria devoured every book she could find, reading aloud to the carabaos in the field, her first non-judgmental audience. She excelled in school, won a scholarship to Manila, and entered a world far from her green home. In the city, gentle teasing turned sharp, her accent became a flaw. For the first time she felt ashamed of where she came from, but the memory of her parents' sacrifices kept her moving forward. She would not let shame define her journey. In Manila, Maria's accent branded her as provinciana, provincial, naive, and inferior. Classmates with polished accents asked her to repeat herself, not for clarity, but to assert their superiority. She tried to change, spending hours in the language lab, rehearsing lines she was never meant to play. The more she tried to erase her accent, the more hesitant her voice became. She avoided speaking up, haunted by laughter and judgment. The struggle seeped into her confidence and sense of self. At parties, she stood silent, intimidated by conversations she felt unworthy to join. In the Philippines, speaking English with a Filipino accent was a peculiar sin, a reminder of colonial insecurity. Discouragement nearly broke her. She called home in tears, wanting to leave the city behind, but her father's words steadied her. "Anak, their ears are broken, not your tongue. Your mind is sharp. Let your words be sharper." His wisdom became her mantra. She decided not to erase her accent, but to arm it with knowledge. If they wouldn't listen, she would make them. She would not hide her voice, she would make it impossible to ignore. Maria channeled her frustration into her studies, determined to let her intellect speak louder than her accent. She graduated at the top of her class, her thesis on international law earning high praise. While others perfected their accents for call center jobs, Maria mastered global treaties and diplomatic protocol. She worked twice as hard, fueled by quiet ambition. Her first job at the Department of Foreign Affairs was menial, her colleagues dismissive. But Maria was patient, learning from every file and every conversation. Slowly, her superiors noticed her insight and work ethic. A senior diplomat with his own provincial accent mentored her. Let your work speak for you. Her rise was slow but steady, built on sleepless nights and relentless competence. She was posted abroad, became an expert in maritime law and disaster relief. Her accent remained, but now it was attached to a name that commanded respect. She hadn't changed her voice. She'd changed how people heard it. Maria from the barrio was now Maria on the world stage. Her roots were her strength. Her voice, once mocked, was now her signature. The summons came in the dead of night, an urgent call that shattered the silence, demanding immediate action. Super Typhoon Amihan had devastated the Philippines, leaving entire communities in ruins and families searching for hope amid the wreckage. The United Nations called an emergency session. The country's lead ambassador, caught in the chaos, was stranded far from New York. The task, heavy and urgent, fell to Maria de la Cruz, a mid-level diplomat suddenly thrust into the global spotlight. Panic seized Andri Sard Anderdeep. This was the UN General Assembly, the world's eyes fixed on her, waiting for her words. Old insecurities flooded back, her accent, her voice, her fear of judgment, memories of being overlooked and underestimated. She locked herself in her office, surrounded by reports and statistics that failed to capture the true devastation, the heartbreak, the loss. Maria pushed the numbers aside and thought of home, of the land she loved, the people she missed, the life before the storm. Nipa huts, mango trees, the laughter of children, and the familiar faces she knew and cherished. In that moment, it wasn't about her accent or her fears. It was about something far greater. It was about the people she represented, their struggles, their resilience, their hope for a better tomorrow. The fisherman casting his net at dawn, the teacher guiding her students, the child smiling bravely amid the ruins. She was not just a diplomat. She was a daughter of the islands, entrusted with telling their story to the world. She threw away the ministry's jargon-filled speech, words that felt empty and distant. She took a blank sheet and wrote from the heart, letting her memories and emotions guide her pen. She would not speak in polished diplomatic language or hide behind rehearsed phrases. She would speak as a survivor, as someone who had lived through the storm and carried its scars. Her voice would carry the truth of her people, their pain and their courage, unfiltered and real. She would not hide her accent. She would let it be a badge of honor, a symbol of where she came from. She would let it ring out, clear and strong. This was her moment. She was ready to speak for her people and for herself. Maria walked to the podium, the eyes of the world upon her, every step echoing with the weight of her people's hopes and fears. She took a deep breath, remembering the faces from home, their smiles, their struggles, the resilience in their eyes. She began, her voice steady, her hands only slightly trembling. I am not here today as a diplomat. I am here as a Filipino, as a daughter of the islands battered by storms yet unbroken by them. Her voice, thick with her homeland's accent, was clear and steady, carrying the music and pain of her mother tongue. She spoke not in jargon, but in stories. The wind that screamed, the water that stole homes, the darkness that lingered after the storm. Her accent gave her words authenticity. It was the sound of the place she described, the echo of mountains and the rush of rivers. She told of a teacher shielding students, a boy saving his sister, neighbors risking their lives for one another. Every number in your reports, she said, is a person, a mother, a brother, a child with a dream, a family clinging to hope. Tears welled in her eyes. She let them fall, unashamed, letting the world see the cost of survival. In that moment, she was not a polished official, but a human being sharing her people's grief, their courage, and their longing for dignity. Then her tone shifted. But I am not here to ask only for your pity. I am here to show you our strength. The Filipino spirit is waterproof, she declared, unbreakable even when the rain never seems to end. Our homes are broken, but our families are not. We gather in the ruins, we share food, we share laughter, we share hope. The storm was strong, but we are stronger. We rebuild brick by brick, heart by heart. We are hurt, but not defeated. We are still standing side by side, looking toward the future with unshaken resolve. The hall was silent, then erupted in thunderous applause, the sound rolling like a wave across the assembly. They were no longer hearing an accent, but the truth behind every syllable. They were hearing a heartbeat, a nation's pulse, strong and unwavering. Maria's voice had become her people's voice, echoing far beyond the walls of that hall. She had turned pain into power. The world listened, and for a moment, they understood what it meant to still be standing. Back home, Maria's speech was broadcast everywhere. In shelters and homes, people listened to a voice that sounded like their own. It was unapologetically Filipino, speaking their truth to the world. Pride swept the nation. The accent once mocked became a symbol of strength. Maria had not hidden it. She had owned it. The laughter was replaced by tears and cheers. Young people shared her speech online. Teachers used it as an example of powerful communication. The conversation shifted. Maybe the goal was to be understood, to be sincere, to be ourselves. Maria became a national hero, her story a validation for all who had ever felt small for how they spoke. Maria's speech went viral, resonating far beyond the Philippines. International news outlets praised its emotional power and authenticity. Her accent was now described as compelling, not flawed. Invitations poured in. She spoke at universities and global forums about identity and authenticity. Linguists called it the De La Cruz effect. Her speech challenged global perceptions of English. People from other countries found courage in her story. She became a symbol for everyone who felt their voice wasn't good enough. At the UN, more delegates spoke in their natural accents. Maria's moment opened a door for others to bring their whole selves to the podium. She reminded the world that the most powerful messages are delivered in a voice that is authentically human. Maria de la Cruz's story is not just about an accent, it's about the courage to be oneself in a world that asks you to be someone else. Her journey is a reminder that our origins are sources of strength, not shame. The very thing they laughed at became her power. Her legacy is written in the renewed confidence of her people. She taught her country, and the world, that sincerity transcends accents. The world still has its biases, but Maria's story created a crack in that wall. She proved authenticity is magnetic, and a genuine voice can move nations. She spoke her truth in the English that was hers, and in doing so, she gave the world a lesson in humanity.